G'day mate, we're back with another episode of low-level Anti-PKing. We've been back on the grind and are now up to 92 strength with 50 attack, still at just 86 combat with 96 range and mage and 42 defense. Not quite full strength yet, but I've cooked up one of the craziest setups I've ever taken into the wilderness and couldn't wait to test it out. We'll still be rocking the samurai setup from last episode, which was surprisingly good for outlasting our opponents, but this time we'll be using the granite maul as our spec weapon, giving us a chance to come up with some big KOs off the back of our ballista. We've also got the accursed scepter for its built-in spell, allowing us to attack with magic while on the lunar spellbook, but this time we'll also be using the level 96 spell called spellbook swap, giving us access to any of the other spellbooks for a single cast. So we'll not only be using Vengeance to counter and KO any PKers, we'll also have access to the standard spellbook for teleblock, as well as Ancients for Ice Barrage, allowing us to take control of the fight and making it easier to escape or secure any outlasts. This is my first time ever PKing with spellbook swap, so let's see if we can work some magic. The very first fight we had in this setup, we found ourselves up against a level 88 Voider. Let's see how it goes. Things start off pretty even as we tank a few of their specs. They start hitting us with a DD, but we keep working them down while waiting for our chance to strike. We hit our Venge and go for the belly as they go for a bolt and get a massive stack, but they only just survive. We hit a quick combo E and get back on the attack. The Scepter comes through with a couple of hits and we go for the G-Maul and ends up taking them out with the whack, but while we were staring at our hits, we forgot to hit our brew and ended up going down as well. We quickly hit the bank and race back for the loot, but the Pure that was watching had some plans of his own. The other guy backs out since he forgot to bank his void, and the Pure catches an entangle on us just in time to swipe up all the loot. We managed to pinch a Tome of Fire and a small bit of rev loot, but it was definitely this man's lucky day. He said to come to Edgeville for a split, but nah, he wasn't at Edgeville. Oh well, the very next fight we found ourselves in a similar scenario up against a level 85 Voider. We start off on the Ancient Spellbook and go for an Ice Barrage. We splash, but it's not a problem. We really just want them to think that I'm only on Ancients and are trying to make a freeze escape so that they might just let their guard down while trying to go for a quick kill. We hop on over the pillar to buy some time while trying to line them up for a KO. They catch a freeze and hop back over, but our Ring of Suffering is doing its job and chipping them down. We get our chance to go for it and the Bally comes through with a big 45 as we venge their bolt. 10 mil and a bit of redemption. Feels good. Things were starting off pretty well. We were chancing just about everyone that we come up against, but it didn't take long to learn that at only 50 attack, the G-Maul isn't the most reliable weapon against anyone with a bit of defense. Back to farming, we got a 500k emblem from the Orcs, and while I'll mostly be on Skull while I get used to PKing in this setup, another good thing about it is that we don't risk an uncomfortable amount when Skulled up, so we are able to go rogue against anyone within our combat bracket. We had another PVMer log in and help himself to one of the Orcs, but I don't want to share, and well, in this setup, I don't have to. We swap on over to Standards and hit him with a TB, then swap to Ancients to lock them down with a freeze. They go for the run, but we've got to make sure they learn their lesson. We line them up for a G-Maul off the back of our belly, but noodle on our specs. They make it outside, but they've got no way out. We get a couple more freezes in and manage to outlast them. 500k loot, but it's not about the money, it's about sending a message. Though sometimes the Crashers are after a little bit more than just a Revenants. A Rusher come in with the D-Claws, but we got a triple eat off in between, and on the very last tick, our Manta saved us from their second spec. A bit of a close one, but we're still kicking. However, it's not all demonic PKs and crazy claw rushers. Everyone's got to start somewhere, and sometimes we come up against some slightly less experienced PKs. We had this absolute weapon come at us with the Ruby Bolts. They end up going for the AGS out of nowhere, but aren't really putting us in any danger. They catch an entangle and go for the DD, so we hit our Venge and go for the Bally. It doesn't quite connect as they hit a 0, but as they stepped out for the second time, they ended up falling over to a 46 Bally. A bit of a questionable one, but we'll take the easy 500k. Next up, we were hit by a level 95 Zerka, also using Spellbook Swap. They catch their TB and land their barrage before whipping out a Ballista. A similar setup, let's see how it goes. They get a big DDS back through prayer as we get them down to half HP. We take the risk and bench their belly as we dump our own, and it pays off with a cheeky Miller. A little while later, as we were strolling back into Ferox, we caught a level 99 chasing down a PVMer and Rags. They decide to let them go and start going for us instead, so of course we get into it. I didn't realize they were still sitting on half HP, so we missed our chance to go for the one tap, but we lined them up for a Venge stack. No luck this time, but we keep at it. We get a bit of damage in as they go for an entangle. They mess up their DD as we get a big belly, leaving them on 1 HP, but they bolt us back for a 1 and get bent over by the recoil. Definitely not that man's finest moment, being taken out by a ring of suffering, and I bet that's exactly how he felt when he realized that he also forgot a protect item. A cheeky pair of dragon claws, and out of nowhere, we've got a big one. Back to the caves, we got a 1 mil totem from the orcs and chanced a few more PKs along the way, but our G-Maul luck hasn't changed and the big riskers keep on getting away with it. We had a Skulled Webweaver pass us by and couldn't pass up the opportunity, so we locked them in with the TB before swapping over to Ancients and locking them down with a freeze. We throw on our smite and get down to business. We go for a maul but pull out after they started eating through it. They make another break for it, but we freeze them once again before getting a big valley. We follow up with the maul, then go back to the valley, and as their prayer drops, we drop them down to just 7 HP, but they live through it. Big chance at a smite, if only we still had our second spec, but still we secured the outlast. 800k loot, can't complain. This next fight was a bit of an interesting one. There was a level 91 Voider beating up on a PVMer, but I guess we look a little juicier and they switch on over to us. A seemingly fair fight, but if you've got a keen eye, you might notice something's up. We're a little suspicious of their prayers. They one-tick their protect range, but aren't swapping back for the scepter. We flicked on our maul while they were standing under us and they one-ticked it as well, so it looks like we've got a cheater, but their client doesn't recognize the scepter, so we might be able to outsmart them. They've figured it out as well as they start flicking to protect mage, but we put on our belly before they swapped and get a shot in off prayer as we bench their bolt, but they make it out on just 2 HP. Looking back, I should have been ready to send the G-Maul, but unfortunately, karma didn't come through. Still, this setup is quite fun to use. We're not just defending ourselves from the PKers, we've got dominance over the Revenants as well, and here we finally got to test out its true potential. A level 83 pure, perfect target. We go for the Venge Belly off the bat and get a big chance on them, but they're still kicking. We follow up with a bit of a shitty 3-tick G-Maul. It wasn't pretty, but it still had potential. Anyway, the fight goes on, and as we get up on damage, we swap on over to Standards and trap them in with the Telly block before swapping to Ancients and landing a freeze. We pop a Venge before swapping back to Ancients, but we get a few decent hits in and the Belly comes through for the KO. Ain't no teleporting out this time. So when it works well. It gives us a chance of getting some kills that we wouldn't get otherwise, but there is one big drawback that balances it out. Whenever we hit a spellbook swap while in combat, we'll get stuck in a 3-tick animation delay that completely stalls our character, leaving us unable to do anything, which can make us a bit vulnerable and give away our next move, or even allow our opponents to escape by getting a gap on us if we miss too many freezes in a row. We went down to the wire against a level 87 here, but we're keen for the kill. We swap over to Standards and send the TB, but they're not too keen on a deathmatch and telly out before we get it off. Oh well, splashed anyway. A little while without any big kills, but the revs come through for us again with our second 16mm Ancient Relic. A bit of a consolation prize, but I'll take it. Not long later, we were going after a rev boss. It's a bit hard to out DPS the web weavers, so we often end up missing out on the loot, but luckily enough for us, a higher level PK come by to take out the competition. Thanks mate, that's another 1 mil totem. Back to the Anti-PKing, we got hit by a level 107 in a bit of a bot farming setup. We just sit back and chip them down while they struggle to catch their TB and entangle. They're camping their crossbow but finally start putting it to use, so we flick back to protect mage, pop our Venge and go for the ballista, and as they come in for the Void Waker, they end up falling over without even eating. A quick 5.5 mil, not bad. We're doing well, it never feels like we're in much danger while we often get a chance or two in on our opponents. The ballista's still doing its job, but the maul seems to have a mind of its own. It's the kind of weapon that can hit insane stacks, but mostly it's nothing. It's good against pures and can make for some massive KOs, but becomes a lot more inconsistent as the defense goes up, but to be fair, it's still a lot better at this combat level than it is at 99 defense, but as the story seems to go, we just can't hit the big numbers on any of the big riskers. We had a level 100 come at us in a seemingly budget setup. Some weak mage gear, but they throw in a decent range set with an Anguish and Odium Ward. A bit of an interesting setup, let's see what they've got. A bit of a slow fight to start, they're camping under us, so as we get them down to 3/4 health, we hit our Venge and go for the straight up G-Maul spec. A 0-19 with the maul leaving them on 35 HP, small chance but the maul lets us down once again. We got another couple of chances throughout the fight, a decent stack with the ballista, but it's not quite enough. Turns out they were risking a bit more than I was expecting. They're camping in our own stuff, but they whip a volatile out of nowhere and go for a spec of their own. We're praying mage, so we don't bother to venge it. We get a small chance in afterwards, but the fight goes on. We've stuck around long enough to regenerate another spec and we're getting a little low, but we get one last chance to go for it as they hit our venge. We come in off a scepter and go for the G-maul, but once again we noodle on robes. They risk it and go for another volley as we follow up with another chance. Could have gone either way there. Looks like they're about out of food, but just as we go for the spellbook swap, they tally on out. Would have been at least a 25mm loot, but it wasn't meant to be. Oh well, another emblem from the Revenants. We're still well up in profit, so we can't complain too much. We got a couple of decent KOs along the way for some dog shit loot, but we do get some valuable practice out of it, so we'll still happily take the fights. Next up, we had a level 100 login and go for the rush. A bit of a long shot with the bolt to maul, but we still got chance, so fair enough. They're keen to stick around as they swap into their robes and go for the TB before popping Avenge. We've got another spellbook swapper, so this should be interesting. They catch a barrage before coming in and starting to stand under us. We try to catch them off guard with Avenge on half HP, but their Elder Maul comes through with a 52 on 52. Not the best odds on my end. It could have gone either way, but we got a bit too keen and got ourselves humbled. Surely we learn from our mistakes and don't take any dumb risks, especially not in our very next fight. Or maybe not. GG's. Oh well, all part of the fun. This next one was a bit of a funny one as well. We had a level 72 pure come charging in with the charge spell. A bit of an obvious skull trick. Gotta do better than that to fool me, but I'll gladly take the fight. We end up getting a clean anti-stack in after their DDS, but the digits aren't quite there. We swap on over to standards and go for the TB so that we can go for the outlast, but a bit of bad timing on the spellbook swap and they got a cheeky chance in with their G-maul, but it ain't over yet. We're still well up, so we put on our smite while utilizing each of our spellbooks. It ain't looking too good for them. They go for the last ditch effort and try to juke us with a little bow at the exit, but this ain't my first rodeo and I'll be taking the 420k. Overall, the spellbook swap setup seems to be quite good and much better than the regular Venge setup. We've still got plenty of food to survive a half TB, and even if we find ourselves in a bad spot, we've got freezers to escape, so honestly I feel a lot safer in this setup. Could be a good excuse to up the risk and start sculling up in the future. And as for the G-maul, well, it's even more volatile than the volatile stuff. It can be good, but to be honest, it feels pretty average. It can hit big and works well with the ballista, but having to pass multiple accuracy checks at only 50 attack makes it a bit unreliable. It stands out against pures, so at this combat bracket it's still a fair choice, it's just that it's not the best for every encounter. Still, we've got a bunch more setups to try in the future as we keep leveling up, but for now I've saved the best clip for last. We were having a good little back and forth with a level 94. The first attempt at Avenge stack didn't work out, so we bought ourselves some time by hopping back and forth over the agility gap. They catch us again, so we go back to chipping them down. As we're freed from the entangle, we go for the stack and get a big bally followed up by a 31 from the maul. Unlucky for them to splash on our Venge, we go for the bonk but only hit a 7, leaving them on just 5 HP. They catch a case of the zoomies, but we keep at it, and after 6 chances in a row, the bally finally finishes them off. The big ones don't come easy for us, but that just makes the 16mm feel a whole lot sweeter. Thanks for watching, I'll catch you next time. Peace.